All right, thank God for fantasy football season. I'm Buster Brown, and the show, it's called Redemption Rehab. And if you tuned in today, it's because you want to do one thing, and that's start winning money in fantasy football. Today, we're talking about my top picks in daily fantasy football that'll help you get the job done. So let's head over to the chalkboard
and check out the facts.
All right, here we are back, week 9 of the NFL season. We're on our website, fantasyfootballredemptionrehab.com, and today we're talking daily fantasy football for week 9 of the NFL to help you win some money on FanDuel. We're going to give you some strategies at quarterback and other position players like running backs, tight ends, wide receivers, and defenses to help you get the job done. So let's head over to rtsports.com
and check out the facts.
Okay, here we are on rtsports.com. We're looking at the over-under in games in week 9 of the NFL season. If you start right here, you can see that this game was on Thursday night and the 49ers beat the Cardinals, so this game is not in our tournament. The other game that's not in our tournament is the Texans against the Jaguars because they play Sunday at 9:30 and it's in London. But the rest of these games are. Starting with the Redskins and the Bills Sunday at 1 o'clock, as you can see here, the over-under is 37. You don't want to be taking players in games if you can help it, or at least you don't want to be taking a lot of players in games with an over-under or a point total projected to be around 37. The games that we're going to focus on are games that are going to get a lot of points. And as you can see here, the Lions-Raiders have 50-point total right here that they're projected to have. And if you come over to the next column, you can see the Buccaneers-Seahawks have a huge point total of 53, and you can see the Packers, Cowboys 48 each in those two games. We're not sure about this game right here, the Chiefs and Vikings, because they're not sure if Patrick Mahomes is going to play, but if he does or doesn't, you can still expect a bunch of points to be scored in those games. Those are the games that we'll be targeting position players in. So that's part of our strategy. Let's head over to this same website, rtsports.com, and check out some of their rankings for quarterbacks. Okay, here we are on rtsports.com looking at their week 9 rankings, and we're talking quarterbacks. We usually like to target the quarterbacks ranked in their top 10. As you can see, starting with Deshaun Watson, who's not in our tournament. So we're starting with Matthew Stafford and working our way down into the top 10 with Gardner Minshew. I do like any of these quarterbacks because they're in their top 10. And if you want some sleepers, I would consider Derek Carr because the point total is so high. And I also like some deep sleepers like Sam Darnold and Mitch Trubisky. So let's head over and look at position rankings and how much some of these quarterbacks cost on FanDuel. Okay, here we are on FanDuel. The first quarterback that I would like to talk about is Russell Wilson. You can see he's playing Tampa Bay Sunday at 4:45, but the thing I like if you look at this is the position ranking. Russell Wilson is going up against the 25th ranked opponent against quarterbacks, but his salary is so high, he's going to be hard to fit in our lineup. It's $8,600, but the point total on this game is close to 53, so we have to consider putting him in there. If we do, we're going to stack him with the wide receiver, probably Tyler Lockett, because they don't have much to go on besides him. But whenever I take a quarterback in FanDuel, I like to stack him with one or two other players, either wide receiver or tight end. Let me give you another quarterback on this page that I really like this week. Matthew Stafford of the Detroit Lions. He plays Oakland at Sunday at 4:05 in Oakland. His opponent rank is 31st, second to last, and his salary is $7,900. It's $700 less than Russell Wilson, but I do like it because the point total in that game is close to 51. So both Russell Wilson and Matthew Stafford are going to throw for a lot of points, and I want them on my team. Let me give you some other guys that aren't as much money in case these two are too expensive for you on FanDuel in Week 9. Okay, let me give you some other quarterbacks I like in Week 9 of the NFL season. Starting with Sam Darnold of the New York Jets. He's playing the Miami Dolphins Sunday at 1 o'clock, and the reason I like him is his opponent rank is terrible. They're 29th. Miami usually gives up a lot of points to quarterbacks, and Sam Darnold, who's been back with his team for 2 or 3 weeks, has a chance to play well. So I would consider him. His salary is $7,300. That's middle of the road. And let me give you another few quarterbacks that we're considering in Week 9 of the NFL season. And the other one I really like, is Derek Carr. He's playing the Detroit Lions at 405, and like Matthew Stafford, he's going up against an opponent rank that is 26th, and it's awful. The Raiders have trouble stopping people. Well, without Darius Slay in the lineup, Detroit has problems stopping people also. And his salary is $7,300. The only question I have with these two quarterbacks is what players are you going to stack with them on the same team to get double the points if you score a passing touchdown? So in all my lineups, I do like these guys, but I'm unlikely to play them. But I wanted to give them to you in case you have trouble fitting a quarterback into your salary cap. And let me give you one deep sleeper I like a lot this week that I'm going to try to fit into my lineup. Okay, the last quarterback deep sleeper I'm going to give you, and there's a lot of risk with this guy, is Mitch Trubisky of the Chicago Bears. He's only thrown for 5 TDs all year. In 2 of those games, he threw for all 5. He's playing Philadelphia at 1 o'clock. The opponent rank is 20th against quarterbacks, and his salary is a paltry $6,500. This is about as low on the salary scale as I'm willing to go for a quarterback. But I like the fact that you can stack him with Allen Robinson, and I really like Anthony Miller this week too. So I think he's got a chance to do well. I could see him getting at least 2, maybe even 3 touchdowns, and if I do put him in my lineup, I'm definitely stacking him with Allen Robinson and possibly Anthony Miller to go along with it. Let's head back over to RT Sports and check out the rankings for running backs. Okay, here we are back in RT Sports looking at their top 10 rankings on running backs. As you can see here, they've got some great running backs: Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Shaq Barkley, Aaron Jones, Ezekiel Elliott, Josh Jacobs, Nick Chubb. These are a great top 7. Any of these guys will score you a lot of points. But can you fit them into your salary cap? That's what you have to ask yourself. Will they fit? Some of these other guys like James Conner, who's not playing this week, Leonard Fournette's in an early game, so he's not in our tournament. These are guys that I would like to be able to play if they were healthy or playing in our tournament, but they're not. So we're going to take this list down a little more. I like Chris Carson, and Tevin Coleman's already played. And I'm going to take the list down to Le'Veon Bell because he does have a great matchup against Miami. And those would be your top 10 running backs. Any of those guys should do well for you. I also like as sleepers this week, and we'll show you on FanDuel, is Jalen Samuels for Pittsburgh, Jordan Howard for the Philadelphia Eagles, and possibly even Mark Walton of the Miami Dolphins, who didn't make this top 25 list. So let's go over to FanDuel and check out and see where some of these salaries are and how we can fit them into our lineup in Week 9 on FanDuel. Okay, here we are on FanDuel. Of course, this is your top 5 or 6 running backs. Any of these guys will do good, but can you fit the money in over here? Look at these salaries going down this list. They're big money. But the one that stands out the most is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook plays Kansas City Sunday at 1 o'clock. He's getting a ton of points every week, but he's going up against the 29th ranked opponent against running backs. So he's got a great matchup, and if you can fit the $9,000 in your salary cap, that'd be great. The rest of these guys also have decent matchups. Saquon Barkley's playing against Dallas on Monday night. 19th ranked opponent, big money. And you can see here Ezekiel Elliott, same deal. Monday night against the Giants, 20th ranked opponent. 8,400. Any of these three guys I can suggest. You can't go wrong with Christian McCaffrey. He's going to get a lot of points, but the defense and the total points aren't very high in that game. So I think any of these three, Chris Carson, you got to like him. Point totals around 50-some points, but he's going up against a tough defense, and the salary's high. Fourth-ranked opponent, Tampa Bay's defense has improved, not against the pass, but against the run. But let me give you some other running backs if these four don't fit into your salary cap on FanDuel. Okay, here we are talking about a couple other running backs I like on FanDuel, starting with Aaron Jones. He goes up against the Los Angeles Chargers Sunday at 4 o'clock, and the reason I like him is he's having a great year, and he's going up against the 23rd ranked opponent against running backs, and his salary is only $7,700. That's a long trip out there, and he is kind of banged up a little bit, so be careful if you use him. And the other running back I really like here is Josh Jacobs. The over-under in that game is over 50 points. He's going up against Detroit Lions at 4 o'clock on Sunday. And Detroit's the 30th ranked opponent against running backs. And his salary is a lot lower. It's $7,200. I would consider him. And the last one on this page I want to show you, and it's because of the opponent rank right here, is Le'Veon Bell. He's playing for the New York Jets against Miami Sunday at 1, and he's going up against the worst defense against the run. I do expect him to catch a lot of passes, and I think he finds the end zone. So he's a good candidate to get you somewhere between the 21 points that we need. With the other candidates on this page, not sure if they'll get me the 20-some points that I need, but I think Le'Veon Bell is a good bet. Unless they get a big lead, then he might find himself not playing at all in the fourth quarter, so be careful. Let me give you some of the sleeper running backs I mentioned earlier to show you where they go and their price on FanDuel in Week 9 of the NFL season. Okay, here we are back on FanDuel looking at some of the talented running backs they have for Week 9 of the NFL season. And a couple of running backs on this page I would keep an eye on are these three right here, Eckler, Howard, and Gordon. Eckler was in the top 10 on RT Sports. His salary is kind of cheap, and he's going up against the 26th ranked opponent against running backs. So is down here Melvin Gordon. He's ranked also in RT Sports, so maybe one or both of these guys will have a big day. And Jordan Howard is playing in a revenge game. He used to play for Chicago Bears, who they're playing Sunday at 1. The opponent rank is 21st. I'm not real high on the guy, but his salary is $6,300. He is going up against his former team that traded him last offseason. Let me give you a sleeper pick that might help you in Week 9 to take home some cash. Okay, here's my sleeper pick at running back. It's Jaylen Samuels of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's coming back from a knee injury he had over the last month, but because James Conner and Benny Snell Jr. are not expected to play, I think he's going to get a ton of carries. He's playing against the Indianapolis Colts Sunday at 1. He's going up against an opponent rank of the 8th best defense against running backs. That's kind of scary. And he's only $5,000. So if you need to fit somebody cheap into your lineup because you spent too much money maybe on quarterback or somewhere else in your lineup, my sleeper pick could probably be Jaylen Samuels of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has a chance to get you 15 points, which is 3 times that first number there, the 5 and the 5,000. So if you need to save some money, that's who I'd be going with. Let's go back to RT Sports and let's check out the rankings on wide receivers. Okay, here we are back on RT Sports looking at the rankings for wide receivers. They started off with some good ones. Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, DeAndre Hopkins isn't in this tournament. Julian Edelman, Kenny Golladay I like a lot. And you can see some of these other guys are all good. Tyler Lockett, Allen Robinson I told you I liked earlier. DJ Chark's not in this, so Marvin Jones makes it into our top 10. So let's see how we could fit these guys into our lineup on FanDuel in Week 9. Okay, here we are back on FanDuel looking at their top wide receivers. Any of these guys should play well. And I'm not sure about Devontae Adams even playing, but I hear it's a good possibility he will play. You start with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. They both play for Tampa Bay against Seattle at 4:05 on Sunday. Seattle's the 12th best opponent against wide receivers, and their salary is similar, $8,200 and $8,100. If you can get one or both of these guys on your team and you want to stack them with Jameis Winston, I think you're going to get some points out of at least one of them, maybe both, because it's supposed to be 50-some points scored in this game. So I could see doing that with either or both of these players. You're going to have to come up with some sleepers later at running back, wide receiver, or tight end to make these guys fit in your lineup. Let me give you some other wide receivers I really like this week, like Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is going to have a big game Monday night against the New York Giants. The Giants are the 30th best opponent against wide receivers, and his salary is $8,000. Any of these guys on this page should have big games. Question is, can you stack them with the quarterback that you're put on your team, and are they going to produce? Let me give you some other wide receivers I like in week 9 of the NFL season. Okay, here we are back in week 9 looking at some other wide receivers I like. If you do manage to put Matthew Stafford as your quarterback, RT Sports has both him and Kenny Golladay in your top 10. I like the matchup against Detroit Sunday. The over-under in this game is over 50. So the opponent rank I really like a lot too. Raiders defense is 27th against wide receivers as far as their opponent rank. And the salary is only $7,600. So that's pretty good. And then the other guy I really like a lot is Tyler Lockett. The over-under again this game against Tampa at 405 is 53. The opponent rank is 29th. That's good. And the salary is middle of the road also. And the last one I want to show you on this list is down here, who I told you, Allen Robinson I like a lot this week. He should garner maybe 8 to 10 targets this week against a weak Philadelphia secondary Sunday at 1 o'clock. The opponent rank is where it's at in this game, 32nd against wide receivers. That's big. So I would stack Allen Robinson with Mitch Trubisky, especially for $7,200. That's middle of the road for a great wide receiver in a game that should get you at least a touchdown, and maybe he'll see 8 to 10 targets. If you do decide to go with Tyler Lockett, you want to stack him, like I said earlier, Russell Wilson, and Kenny Golladay you want to stack with Matthew Stafford. Let me show you some other wide receivers I like in week 9. Okay, if you do decide to use Matthew Stafford as your quarterback, Marvin Jones is having a pretty good year. 2 weeks ago, he scored 4 touchdowns in one game. He is playing Oakland in a high-scoring game Sunday at 4:05. The over and under in that game, like I said, is over 50, and the opponent rank is 27th. And he's a paltry $5,700. So if you need a cheap player and you want somebody that has a good chance of scoring a lot of points on Sunday, you definitely want to consider Marvin Jones, especially if you have Matthew Stafford as your quarterback. And I've got one more wide receiver I'd like to give you, is a sleeper in week 9 of the NFL season. Okay, the last wide receiver I want to give you is my deep sleeper, is Anthony Miller for the Chicago Bears. He plays Philadelphia Sunday at 1. Philadelphia, again, is the 32nd ranked opponent, and he's only $5,100. Anthony Miller's a good player. He had shoulder surgery in the offseason, and I think he's finally healthy. He is starting to get more and more targets, and against this weak secondary, it wouldn't surprise me if he had his first breakout game of the year. So if you need a deep sleeper at wide receiver, my pick in week 9 is Anthony Miller. Let's head back over to RT Sports and check out their rankings for tight ends in week 9 of the NFL season. Okay, here we are back on RT Sports, and we're checking out the top ranked tight ends for week 9. If you look it over here, you'll see that the tight end rankings have Darren Waller of the Oakland Raiders number 1. George Kittle's already played. It's Thursday night. He's not in our tournament. But I do like the rest of these guys. How can you go wrong with Travis Kelce, Hunter Henry, Mark Andrews, and Evan Ingram? But that's where it ends for me. Top 6. I'm not sure I like anybody else in this. I mean, if I had to pick a sleeper out of these guys, it's definitely Dallas Goedert. But he's going up against the tough defense. And I really kind of always liked TJ Hawkinson against Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions going up against Oakland. It's going to be a high-scoring game, but he's hit or miss, so you're taking a big chance there. And a guy that broke out last week down here at number 17 is Jonnu Smith. If Walker, their starting tight end, doesn't play this week, then I think Jonnu Smith may get some touches and may be considered a sleeper this week, going up against the tough Carolina defense. Let's take a look at these guys on FanDuel to see how much they are and what their opponent rank is to see if we can fit them into our lineup in week 9 of the NFL season. Okay, here we are looking at the tight ends on FanDuel and how much they are this week. And one of the tight ends you gotta like because of the over-unders 50-some points is Darren Walker. He's going up against Detroit at 405. The opponent rank against tight ends is 23rd, so that's pretty good, and he's only $6,800. I do think he's going to get a touchdown. I do think he's going to have a lot of receptions, so he's definitely should be. He's number 1 on RT Sports, and he should be. Another tight end I really like a lot is down here, who is Hunter Henry. He's going up against the Green Bay Packers at 425 on Sunday. The opponent rank is 27th. That's good, and his salary is only $6,400. So the 2 tight ends I'm targeting on this list right in front of me is Darren Waller and Hunter Henry, especially if I have Derek Carr as my quarterback or maybe even Phillip Rivers. I'm not suggesting either one of them, but they do have good matchups. Let me give you my sleeper tight end for week 9 of the NFL season that I've already mentioned. Okay, my sleeper tight end is Jonnu Smith. He had a great week last week, caught like 6-7 balls for 60-70 yards and a touchdown. He's going up against a much better defense in Carolina, who took a whooping last week, but George Kittle had a good game against them. He's going up against the 10th best ranked opponent against tight ends, and his salary is only $5,500. So if you need a cheap tight end, you could do a lot better than Jonnu Smith, but you could do a lot worse. And why you would pick him is because of the salary. Maybe you just can't fit any of the more expensive ones in there. And if you need a flyer at tight end, Jonnu Smith is my guy. So let's go over and take a look at the defenses we like in week 9 of the NFL season on RT Sports. Okay, here we are back on RT Sports. Before we get to the rankings, we want to check out the over-unders one last time so we can look at what defenses to choose in week 9. As you can see here, the Redskins-Buffalo Bill game is only 37.5 points. We're recommending the Bills for sure. The other game that's really low is the Browns against the Broncos. The Broncos are starting a rookie quarterback, someone I've never heard of, going up against a decent pass rush of the Cleveland Browns, and the over-under on that game's only 39.5. So there are some other teams I do like. I think the Jets, anytime you play the Dolphins, the over-under in this game's low, and I think you can consider any of those good. It's whether or not you can fit their salary in. So let's go over and see what RT Sports thinks of their rankings. Now that we know the over-under, let's go look at their rankings. Okay, here we are on RT Sports looking at their top 10 rankings of defense. As you can see, Buffalo with that low over-unders number 1. You can always go with New England. New England has outscored like quarterback type points this year. So putting them in there is always good, and they're going up against Baltimore. I don't see them having a big week, but you never know. San Francisco's already played, and like I said earlier, I really like Cleveland a lot, and we'll go over FanDuel and see how much they are, and also the Jets against Miami. The Jets defense isn't very good this year, but they could have a big game against a terrible Miami team that might not win a game all year. And the last one I want to show you is the Seattle Seahawks. Anytime you play it, the over-under in that game's huge, so it's probably a bad idea. 53. But Jameis Winston has a tendency to turn the ball over. He has multiple turnovers in every game, and he gets sacked a lot. So this could be a sneaky play, but we won't know until we check it out on FanDuel. So let's go see what the salary cap is on some of the defenses in week 9 of the NFL season on FanDuel. Okay, like I said, Buffalo, this is the defense I'd have in every league. Any tournament on FanDuel would be these guys. They play Washington, who's starting a rookie quarterback. I don't see him scoring, and I can see him getting sacked a lot, and I can see him turning the ball over a ton against the good Buffalo defense and in Buffalo Sunday at 1 o'clock. The opponent rank is 27th, and if you can get Buffalo's defense in there, I think they can easily get you 15 points. Here you see New England. They're ranked 2nd. They're 5,000. I told you about the Seahawks right here playing Tampa. They're high money too. For my money, I'm still going with Buffalo if I'm going that high. If you want to save a little money, you could come down here. The Jets are playing the Dolphins. Dolphins stink. Jets got going up against the 31st ranked opponent. They should be able to not only sack the quarterback, but they should get some turnovers. And they're only 4,600. But that's not the defense I'm going to recommend. If you need to save some money, it's the Cleveland Browns. Right here, they're going up against Denver Sunday at 425. Denver's offensive line's banged up. They're starting a rookie quarterback. They're going to try to run the ball. That's really the only way they're going to be able to move the ball. And I think Cleveland's going to be able to put a hurting on Denver this week. Denver's the 23rd ranked opponent, and they're only 4,300. So I think you can put them in easily into your budget and get some points. And that's it as far as defenses. I'm not going to recommend anybody else. I recommended enough, so you should be able to get some of these defenses into your lineup. But I am recommending Buffalo, and if you can't fit them, probably Cleveland would get you the most points in Week 9 of the NFL season. Let's see if we can go over to FanDuel and see how we can get some of these guys we mentioned today into our lineup and under our salary cap for Week 9. Okay, the first lineup that I really like a lot because I can get a lot of top 10 players in the lineup that are ranked on RT Sports is this one with Russell Wilson. The over-under in the Seattle game is 53. It's probably going to be the highest scoring game of the week. And having a quarterback in that game, whether it's Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston, is a good idea. So if we go with Russell Wilson and we put him in there against two top 10 running backs, according to RT Sports, on Aaron Jones and Josh Jacobs, stack Russell Wilson with Tyler Lockett, add in the two Detroit top 10 players in Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones, you could see that we're having a great lineup. Throw in Hunter Henry, also top 10. Cleveland Browns are top 10 defense, according to RT Sports. And the only player that's not top 10 is the starting running back this week for the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against a tough Indianapolis Colts defense, and that's Jaylen Samuels. Now you can see the two Detroit Lions in here. So let's go over and put Matthew Stafford in our lineup and see what that looks like and stack those players together. Okay, when you go to save some money at quarterback, you can afford to put better players in your lineup. Here you can see I have Matthew Stafford in here, and I'm stacking him with Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones. I was able to upgrade one position at running back to try Dalvin Cook, who I really like. He's the #1 ranked running back on RT Sports, and I paired him with Jaylen Samuels, where I saved a ton of money, $5,000. And the rest of the team is all top 10 players. Allen Robinson, he's in the top 10 on RT Sports. Darren Waller is the #1 tight end on RT Sports. Hunter Henry's top 5 tight end, and Cleveland's defense is also top. This is a good lineup. And when you go cheaper at quarterback like Matthew Stafford, let me show you another lineup with Detroit that is just as good, and I plan on using them also in some lineups this week. Okay, here's a lineup that's similar to the last one, but more in common with the first lineup I showed you, who had Russell Wilson as our starting quarterback. When you take Russell Wilson out and you keep the same running backs, Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones, if you stack Matthew Stafford with Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones, because we went down at quarterback, we were able to add Chris Godwin, the #1 wide receiver on RT Sports, along with the team that's similar to Team 1 and Team 2, where we kept Hunter Henry, Jaylen Samuels as our sleeper, and the Cleveland Browns defense. Every one of these players is top 10 except Jaylen Samuels, so it fits our model perfectly, and we should win some 50-50 matchups and possibly compete in some tournaments with this lineup. And let me show you one with the sleeper at quarterback, Mitch Trubisky, and how you should stack that and how many good players you can get in your lineup if you go really low salary at quarterback in Week 9. Here we are back in Week 9 on FanDuel, and we've got Mitch Trubisky as our quarterback. When you go low at quarterback, 6,500, you could really upgrade all your positions. He's not a top 10 quarterback. He was hardly ranked in the top 25 and is not having a good year. But if you stack him with two good players, Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller, both who I like for Week 9, going up against the 32nd ranked opponent against wide receivers, it makes sense. You put in the players we've had already, Kenny Golladay. Look what we were able to do by using Mitch Trubisky as our quarterback. We were able to upgrade our running backs, going with the #1 running back on RT Sports, and Ezekiel Elliott, our #5 running back, going up against the New York Giants on Monday night. Both of these games are going to be high scoring, and both of these guys should have at least 1 and possibly 2 touchdowns. So going weak at quarterback gives us the opportunity to add some special players. The rest of our team is Darren Waller, which is our #1 tight end. We're going to pair these guys with our sleeper, which is this week in week 9 is Jalen Samuels, starting running back of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And once again, as much as I'd like to get the Buffalo Bills in this week on a team, I wasn't able to fit them in. I'm going to go with our sleeper defense, and that's the Cleveland Browns this Sunday, going up against the Denver Broncos. Okay, there you have it. In summary, those are the lineups I'd suggest, and I gave you the facts and the strategy behind everything. And if you get a chance, go over and check out our website, as you can see below, fantasyfootballredemptionrehab.com. You can always go over here and check out our week 8 and week 9 stuff by just clicking on a button right here, and it shows you the waiver wire report for that week if you're in season-long leagues, and it shows you the daily fantasy football strategies for that same week like we showed you today. I'm Buster Brown. The show's called Redemption Rehab. Good luck.